Welcome to my channel, Azuka, the mysterious meat seller. Once upon a time, in a small village named Ekate, a sense of unease settled over the residents. It started with whispers of a new meat seller, Mr. Azuka, who appeared out of nowhere. His prices were so low and his quantities astonishingly high. The villagers, initially thrilled by the prospect of affordable meat, soon grew weary. Mr. Azuka's spot, tucked away in a corner of the market, became a sensation. His meat, always the freshest and the most tender. He got customers like bees to honey. But as the days passed, the other meat sellers grew concerned. How could Mr. Azuka afford to sell at such low prices? Where was he sourcing his meat from? Rumors began to circulate about Mr. Azuka among his fellow meat sellers. Some said he came from a neighboring village, while others claimed he was a stranger from the city. But one thing was certain: Mr. Azuka was a master of his craft. His meat was irresistible and his charm disarming. But one thing, he doesn't sell bomo, cow skin. And when asked by some of his customers, he will always reply that he doesn't like the stress associated with processing it. As the villagers flocked to Mr. Azuka's spot, the other meat sellers watched their businesses going down. Most of their customers left them for Mr. Azuka. Mr. Okoro, one of the respected elders and also a meat seller, called his friend to discuss the situation with him because he sells meat alongside with them. We must do something, he urged. We can't let Mr. Azuka put us out of business. But Mr. Azuka remained elusive, always staying one step ahead of his competitors. He sold only the fleshy part of the meat and never sold bomo, the cow skin. It was as if he knew a secret that made his meat irresistible. The villagers began to notice strange occurrences. Mr. Azuka will often disappear into the forest, only to return with a fresh supply of meat. His sacks always full. And then, if there is any ceremony in the village, Mr. Azuka's meat was the go-to choice for every occasion because of the quality and the affordability. Mr. Okoro and his friend were determined to know the truth behind Mr. Azuka's meat. So Mr. Okoro sent his teenage sons to monitor Mr. Azuka's activities. They watched as he carried his sacks, but saw nothing as they followed him home. Frustrated, Mr. Okoro decided to increase his own stock. He bought larger amounts of meat, hoping to attract more customers. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't compete with Mr. Azuka's price. As the days turned into weeks, the meat sellers grew more suspicious. Something was wrong, and they were eager to find out what. Little did they know, their curiosity would lead them down a dark path, one that would change their lives forever. Mr. Okoro and his friend Mr. Amadi hatched a plan. They decided to trace Mr. Azuka at the end of cells back home. They traced him for 5 days, yet couldn't find anything, except for sometimes he is seen talking to himself. One day, they followed him as usual, secretly, as he headed towards the forest. They followed him, hoping to discover the source of his mysterious meat. It was almost midnight already. Mr. Azuka, deep into the forest, he went, and their hearts were filled with anticipation. As they watched Mr. Azuka met with a group of rough-looking men, their faces were mean. The exchange was brief, but from what they observed, Mr. Azuka handed over to them money, and the men gave him a full sack in return. The transaction looked illegal, and Mr. Okoro's instinct told him that something was wrong, because he saw something that looked like a human hand while Mr. Azuka was transferring the content into his own sack. The next day, Mr. Okoro and Mr. Amadi decided to investigate further. They tracked those mean-looking young boys to a secluded location where they stumbled upon a gruesome discovery. Human remains discarded like trash. The truth hit them like a ton of bricks. Mr. Azuka was selling human meat. Horrified, they retreated and determined to gather the evidences. They returned to the village. They were so devastated, and they sought the help of the village vigilante, a group of fierce and fearless men tasked with protecting the community. Together, they hatched a plan to catch Mr. Azuka in the act. The night of the sting operation, the vigilantes followed Mr. Azuka, their eyes fixed on the sack. As he began to sort the meat, they pounced on them, revealing the unthinkable: human hands, feet, limbs that he was yet to sort out before selling. The vigilantes apprehended Mr. Azuka and his accomplice, dragging them back to the village. On return, the news spread like wildfire, and the villagers gathered, demanding justice. Mr. Azuka's smile, once charming, now faded as he faced the wrath of the community. The interrogation was intense, with Mr. Azuka and his cohorts revealing a shocking tale of human trafficking, kidnap, and murder. The villagers listened with fear as the extent of the crimes became clear. It was already getting late that day. The villagers were so angry, and they wanted to take laws into their hands by stoning them to death. The village king intervened, and they handed Mr. Azuka and his cohorts over to the police, ensuring they would face the full force of the law. Justice had to be served, but the scars would linger a reminder of the darkness that had threatened to consume them. The village of Ekate was left reeling after Mr. Azuka's arrest. The revelation of his activities sent shockwaves through the community, leaving many to wonder how they had been so deceived. As the news continued spreading, the villagers gathered to discuss the implications of Mr. Azuka's crimes. Some were outraged, demanding harsh punishment for the perpetrators. Others were sober, reflecting on how they had unknowingly consumed human flesh. The village elder, Mr. Okoro, called a meeting to address the community's concern. He assured them that justice will be served and that measures will be taken to prevent such atrocities from happening again. Meanwhile, the authorities launched a thorough investigation into Mr. Azuka's operations. They discovered a vast network of human traffickers and kidnappers stretching across the region. As the evidence mounted, Mr. Azuka and his cohorts were charged with multiple counts of murder, human trafficking, and organ harvesting. The trial was swift, with the prosecution presenting overwhelming evidence of their guilt. Mr. Azuka and his cohorts were sentenced to life imprisonment with hard labor. The villagers breathed a collective sigh of relief as justice was served, but the scars of the experience would linger. In the months that followed, the village of Ekate underwent a transformation. The community came together to heal and rebuild, determined to never let greed and ambition cloud their judgment. The villagers also took steps to prevent similar atrocities from happening in the future. They established a community watch program tasked with monitoring suspicious activity and reporting it to the authorities. As for Mr. Okoro, he became a hero in the eyes of the community. His bravery and determination had brought an end to Mr. Azuka's reign of terror, and he continued to lead the village with wisdom and integrity. Thanks so much for watching. If at this point you're yet to subscribe, please do. And don't forget to also like, share, comment, and hit the notification bell so that you'll be among the first to be notified each time I post new videos. And to my returning subscribers, thanks for always stopping by to watch and engage. I love you all. See you in my next one. Bye.